Hello, Gators. Welcome back to the Chomp podcast. My name is Eddie Monares, and I am the campus editor for Golden Gate Express. On this week's episode, I will be joined by head baseball coach Tony Schifano. We are going to discuss the start of the baseball season, his journey as a player and as a coach, and some MLB topics. Let's get into it. Coach, thank you for joining the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
First question, you guys are only a couple games into the season. How would you assess the start?
Rough start. Yeah, we scheduled a very strong opponent, two strong opponents, Billings and Westmont. Westmont was nationally ranked last year, regionally ranked, and all their players came back. But you have to play those games on the road for RPI and test the guys early in the season. And obviously the record, we got the win against Montana Billings, came back and beat them on Monday on a walk-off at East Bay. And then this weekend we went down to Westmont and we came out like gangbusters and scored a couple runs early. And it's a very offensive ballpark. They're a very offensive team, and we just got outscored in each game. The last game I was very proud of the guys. They were down 3-0. We're down 3-0 in the series, down 3-0 late in the game, and we fought back and got it to extra innings, and unfortunately just didn't get it done.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll learn from it, grow from it, and be better for it.
Mm-hmm. I'm always curious as a baseball coach. In basketball, you could change your offense from season to season, change your defense. In soccer, change tactics and formation. As a baseball coach, how do you change season to season?
Well, I think your personnel changes with regards to graduation. Now the transfer portal plays into it. So, we lost one of our best players last year, a true freshman. We lost him in the portal to Cal Berkeley. But then we gained some players in the portal, guys that you'll hear about throughout the season. Aaron Roberts, he's from Cal. A young man named Alec Truckee is going to pitch on weekends for us. So your personnel changes, and you kind of evaluate them in the fall and get an idea. Okay, are we going to be a speed team? Are we going to be a team that relies on the short game? Or are we going to hit the ball out of the ballpark? Are we going to pitch? What are our strengths? And I think we're still feeling that out a little bit. That's what the preseason's for. But we better figure it out pretty soon because Chico's coming in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Last season was one of your strongest seasons, 34 wins, the most in the CCAA era. How do you plan to build upon that?
Yeah, our ultimate goal is to win a national championship, and that's the goal. And I think the wins will take care of itself along the way to that goal. And we're pretty high, we're pretty motivated by what women's volleyball did this year. Making it to the national championship game. This is an opportunity for us. We're senior heavy. I think we have 20 plus seniors on the team. They have regional experience getting to the regional championship game. They're hungry, and you just build on it by having the same goal, I think, and that goal is to win it all. Mm-hmm. And everything else will take care of itself along the way.
You mentioned women's volleyball. Are you often look at other sports for inspiration, or are you looking at their journeys?
Absolutely. Matt Hoffman, the head coach, came in, I think 6 years ago, maybe. And he'll tell you, I think they won a couple games that year. And we talked back then about the journey, and I was a young coach as well. And we had made a couple playoff appearances at that point, but like him early in my career, it was a struggle to build the program the first few years. But we talk about that journey, that ride of, enjoying the ride, because there's going to be ups and downs along the way. And yeah, I do look to other coaches. I steal stuff from other coaches, motivational things they do, team building concepts they do, things of that nature. But, I think it's important that we all push each other in the athletic department and to succeed. And because, we do have that little chip on our shoulder here. Maybe we don't all have the best resources or the best facilities and things of that nature, but we have fantastic student athletes that are highly motivated. And, absolutely, I look to other programs for motivation.
Mm-hmm. Last season, you lost in the regional finals to Cal State Monterey Bay, correct?
Yeah.
Is that something you use as motivation going into the season, or is it something you kind of just flush and, try not to think about?
Well, at times you can use it, but we do also have 20 new players this year that never competed against Monterey Bay. So I don't think it's a tool to, keep the whole team motivated. I think the motivation is everybody has that dream when they're a young kid to play in the College World Series. So for us, that's the motivation. And the way I don't really use it, I don't really talk about certain teams or anything. I just say, hey, if you want to get to be, if you want to be the best, we're gonna have to beat the best, and you know who the best is right now.
Hmm. I want to transition to you as a player. What's your origin story with baseball? How did you find baseball as a kid?
Yeah, I took to it really young. I believe 6 years old. I was in t-ball, and I have vivid memories of t-ball. To be honest with you, I could always. It came so easy for me to catch the baseball and throw it and hit it, and I was in my backyard every day after school, hitting into nets and doing all the, throwing the ball against the wall, playing catch with my dad. And that was primarily my sport. I played a little bit of soccer, but I was small growing up, very tiny, and had no scholarships, no offers out of high school. Barely played my senior year in high school. Rode the bench a lot. But I knew I had a skill set. I knew I was going to grow eventually, and so I walked on to UC Davis, and, no scholarships. It was an even playing field, and it took me, 2 years of adding strength and refining my skills, and I finally found my way on the field, and never missed an inning for the last 3 years of my career, and
Hmm.
then was really, really fortunate to be offered a free agent contract from the Florida Marlins at the time. I signed not knowing what was ahead of me, and it ended up being 10 years of professional baseball with 5 different organizations. Yeah, and so that was kind of my journey.
Hmm. How does someone with no offers, a walk on the UC Davis, how do you make it to the Baseball Hall of Fame there?
a, a lot of hard work, some luck, good coaches. I had really good players ahead of me that I watched a lot and kind of like formed my game around. But you know, I just think like I tell the guys all the time, just work hard. The game will take care of you, take care of the game. And I was a hard worker. I took 1,000 ground balls. Um, I look back now and wished I had really hit the weight room more because that would have been a difference maker in the sense of when I got to professional baseball. But back then, weights wasn't as big as they are now. Strength training and whatnot. But yeah, that's a tough question to answer. I just say a lot. No one's ever asked me that, but a lot of hard work and I think a love of the game. I love baseball. I love being on the field. I love the smell of the grass. I love a, a ball bouncing on an infield dirt and reading hops. And it's just those little things that when I go to a baseball game, I go to a Giants game. I think sometimes the people I go with go, "Hey, are you even watching what happened?" I'll be like, I'll watch the shortstop for 6 innings and just
Hmm.
watch his movements and everything. And so I guess, everybody has their passion and their love. That's fine.
Were you a shortstop?
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned signing with the Florida Marlins. I believe I also read you were with the Astros.
Yeah.
I mean, what's it like going through the minor league farm system with these different teams?
Every team was unique. The one that really stood out to me, I love the Marlins. That was my original team, and I learned a lot that Marlins system. I got traded to the Blue Jays in the middle of the season. I was a player named later in a trade. I was in Double A with the Marlins in Portland, Maine, and got traded like 10 minutes before a game started. The next day, I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee, playing Double A for the Blue Jays.
Hmm.
And I tell this story a little bit. I'll be short with the story, but the head coach of the Blue Jays, Blue Jays Double A team, didn't really know me because I was traded over, and he thought that the position on the trade on the fax was an 8, and so my opening day with the Blue Jays was in a center field, and I had never played center field in my life, and it was actually a 6. The ink got smeared,
Right.
but it actually extended my career another 5 6 years because now if you could play center field, you could play all the positions, and if you could play short, you can play all the infield positions. So I became this super utility guy, and it really extended my career. So it was kind of a blessing in a way. But yeah, the journey's tough. Long bus rides. I remember 18-hour bus rides. 20-day road trips, terrible pay in the minor leagues, sometimes horrible accommodations. Um, Remember a lot of showers that they were cold and dirty in some of those places, that just old ballparks. But something I would never trade those 10 years for. Amazing friendships, amazing experiences, saw the country, got to play internationally as well as a result. Made a lot of lifelong connections and learned a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy you mentioned you're a player to be named later. Sometimes we never even hear about that when these trades go down.
Uh,
Who those players
I was
are.
that young minor leaguer, and turns out you mentioned the Astros. So that not the Astros, but my last year was Detroit. And I spent spring training and then just 2 months in single A with them. But my roommate was Justin Verlander.
Wow.
Yeah, so he was a great he was just this young top prospect, and I mean every outing in single A it looked like he was going to throw a no-hitter. He was unbelievable, and you could just tell he was destined for stardom. But I got released after a month or two, and then he got moved up to Double A, and the rest is history. Yeah,
Hmm. Post playing career, how'd you find coaching? Is that something you always wanted
it
to do?
found me. Yeah, I during my minor league career, you basically you have to work in the off season because you don't get paid. And so I did substitute teaching, and I fell in love with the classroom. And so when my career ended, I eventually became a teacher.
Mm.
Excuse me, I was teaching high school English in San Jose, and I just figured, maybe I was kind of helping out at Los Gatos High School a little bit. A buddy of mine was coaching there, and I thought, okay, this will be my life. I'll be a teacher, coach some high school baseball, and maybe start a family. And then out of nowhere, my alma mater, UC Davis, called me. An assistant coach had just left for St. Mary's. I had no clue. I thought they were calling for alumni donations. And so, because I had just missed the golf tournament. So I called them back, and turns out they were looking for an assistant coach and wanted to know if I was interested. And they had just turned Division One. So they just made that transition in 2008. And what a blessing. I took the opportunity. I jumped on it. That first year, we went to a regional and played at Stanford, beat Stanford on Friday night.
It's dope.
Amazing, amazing experiences right off the bat. I spent 10 years there at UC Davis. And then eventually I moved on to here, and it's been 8 years. No, I apologize. 8 years at UC Davis, and this is my 10th year at SS State.
Was there a coach you had in your playing career that inspired you to become a coach?
Wow, great question. A coach, yeah, I had a few, in the minor leagues. I had a gentleman named Bob Mariano. He was my single A coach with the Dodgers in Vero Beach, and I was a veteran, and I had been released a few days earlier by the Astros from AAA, and the Dodgers called and said, "Hey, we got a spot for you, but it's back down in single A." Which is hard to swallow when you've played double A and triple A for a while and you're in your late 20s. But I went down to single A, and Bob Mariano was the head coach, and I found this passion, this love for the game again, and he brought a confidence out of me that I hadn't had for a few years, and it really helped me finish my career on a positive note.
Hmm. You mentioned getting to AAA. I mean, how tough was that? You're one step away from the major leagues.
Yeah, that was great. I unfortunately I wasn't a starter on that AAA team, but I felt like I could play at that level. So I was a backup to three infielders that were the three infielders for the World Series team. I don't know if you remember the Astros had the team with Roger Clemens, Andy Pettit.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the infield was Keith Ginter, Adam Everett, and Morgan Insberg, and they were the starting three in the AAA team, and I
Wow.
was their backup. And just great experience playing with them. Roy Oswalt was on that team, ended
Mm.
up being an all-star with the Astros. So I was very fortunate to play for organizations that really believed in development of the players they drafted and bringing them to the big leagues. Whereas there's organizations that believe in using them as trade bait a lot. So it was a really good experience and a lot of good coaches throughout my entire career.
Hmm. You mentioned coaching at UC Davis. You're obviously an alum. What was the decision to come to San Francisco State? Was it a tough decision to leave your former college?
Extremely tough to leave. I had ascended to associate head coach by my ninth or tenth, or my seventh or eighth year there. We were having good success. We had rebuilt the program after that regional appearance. We had gone down. We had lost 7 players to the draft after that year. We had to rebuild the program, and we were in a good spot. I had a home there. The goal was to eventually become the head coach there, but the opportunity came up at San Francisco State to be a head coach, and I'd say that was probably the most important aspect of it, was the opportunity to be a head coach and run my own program. Yeah.
Hmm. You mentioned you're 10 years in now, a decade in as a coach. Where do you feel like you've grown the most in these 10 years?
Oh, wow. Yeah, so many aspects, whether it's recruiting or relationships with the players, and develop that day to day. When I was a young coach 18 years ago, I was fiery. I was still a player mentality. It takes some time to mature as a coach and understand, you're not a player anymore, and that these young men are going to feel the ups and downs that you felt as a player, and they're gonna look to you on a daily basis for how you react to certain situations, and how you become a leader. And I'd say the number one thing I've learned is how to be a leader. And what's become most important to me, and of course we all want to win, but what's become most important to me is the relationships with the players and how they develop as young men, while they're here and beyond.
You mentioned getting out of that player's mentality when you get into coaching. I mean, how tough is that, to realize you're not a player anymore? You can't affect the game playing wise. You're a coach now.
Yeah, it's really tough in the beginning, and I actually have that conversation with a lot of young coaches. I'll coach against these young coaches across the field, and I'll see how fiery they are and how they live and die on a pitch or two or an inning or something. And maybe if I get an opportunity to see them on the recruiting trail, I'll just offer some old man wisdom, like, hey man, you just stay with it, believe in your players, trust them, show them you love them. It'll pay off down the road. And some guys take it and some guys don't. I'm sure it goes right through one ear out the other. But I wish, I did have somebody grab me when I was a young coach and say, "Hey, man, you gotta settle down a little bit and realize this is a journey for all these young men, and really be somebody that's inspirational to them."
Do you remember who that was? That
Yeah, it was two of my former bosses at UC Davis, Rex
Mhm.
Peters and Matt Vaughn. Yeah.
You mentioned recruiting as well. I know San Francisco State's not obviously a Division I school. I mean, what's recruiting like? I know in this age of NIL in different sports, it's crazy how teams are spending money to build players. I mean, how do you do it?
Yeah, it's I mean, you when I first started in this business, you were thinking like when you recruited a young man and you had a class that you brought in like 10 to 12 kids, you were thinking about that next class. Okay, I don't need a catcher, I don't need a shortstop, so I just signed them, and you're building for the next 3 to 4 years. Now it's year to year. I mean, honestly, with the transfer portal, and um, you know, we have a center fielder this year it's a very special player. He's a junior, redshirt junior, so he has another year of eligibility next year, and he could play at that next level very easily. And so now the mindset is, okay, years ago, I would have thought, oh, I have him for senior year no matter what, right? Unless he got drafted. But now it's we got to go find another center fielder, or move somebody over that's already here from left field or right field. So it's definitely changed from that building for the future to year. The transfer portals changed that. Um, the junior colleges are loaded with talent now. So, I think what's changed the most is a lot of high school kids are getting left behind, and programs are recruiting junior colleges and the transfer portal more to get older players to
Hmm.
become better quicker, and then recycle that lineup the next
Hmm.
year. Yeah.
Yeah. In these uncertain times, I don't know if you were slated to play Sonoma State this year, but they obviously cut their athletics starting next year.
Yeah.
I mean, what has the university told you? Have you gotten any assurances that that won't happen here, or what's been their messaging to you?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate what happened there. They are in our conference, so we do play them. We'll be playing them. I think it's about the middle of the season somewhere. Um, we haven't had any assurances or anything. I think President Mahoney's looking at every aspect on campus, and I think it's everybody realizes there has to be cuts and tighten the belts in certain areas, and I just been telling everybody we're bracing for the worst and hoping for the best.
Mhm. Is that the same message you're giving the team? Has it even been brought up at all?
It's been brought up. I addressed it. I held off for a while with the guys, but then I started hearing things that the athletes are talking, and especially after Sonoma State announcement.
Hmm.
Um, and it's no secret that San Francisco State's in a budget crisis as well. We have been since the pandemic. Um, we just, yeah, the guys had some questions. I answered them as best as I could without having all the facts in front of me. I said, hey, all you can worry about is what's in front of you right now, and if that announcement comes, good or bad, we'll react to it, and stay positive and move forward in life. We have a mantra that we say every day in the dugout, and as much as we can, it's hashtag keep going. That's the mindset. Just keep going, keep moving
Hmm.
forward. Good things will happen if you work hard and you treat people the right way, and we do that.
Hmm. You mentioned the Giants. Are you a Giants fan?
I enjoy going to Giants games. I mean, I grew up in Southern California, so the Angels were my team growing
Hmm.
up. All my memories from Angel Stadium, and then I did play for the Dodgers for uh, two stints. There's a little bit of Dodger blue from that, just the experiences and the friendships that I made over the years. But I've become really close with a few of the San Francisco Giants executives,
Hmm.
Bobby Evans and Ron Wotus, and they've both been speakers at my banquet that we do to kick off our season, and Randy Wynn
Hmm.
just a year ago. So I have a lot of respect for the Giants. I think Buster Posey was an amazing, excuse me, amazing move for them. I think they're going to get back to their roots of developing players and bringing those young kids up like Brandon Crawford and Bumgarner and those
Hmm.
guys. And I think they got another line of kids coming up. Yeah.
As an Angels fan, I mean, what was it like to see Otani go right across the Dodger? I know you said you got the
Uh,
Dodger blue in you. I mean,
yeah, that was tough. I mean, it's been a tough decade. You have two of the greatest players ever to play the game on paper, and with Trout and him, and just haven't been able to get it done. Everybody loved to see Mike Trout in the playoffs,
mhm.
a little bit of postseason, but and we got to see what Otani got to experience, and
Yeah.
I was really happy for him. But yeah, I mean, God, it's been a long time since the Angels have been relevant.
Hmm. You mentioned the future of college baseball with the portal and recruiting and all that. What about the future of the MLB? People talk about what the Dodgers are doing, signing these players with the deferred money and all that. I mean, where do you see the future of the major leagues going?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the game evolves, and it comes back at times. I think the commissioner has tried to change some rules to kind of level out the playing field. With regards to just for example, making the bases wider and bringing speed back to the game. So maybe if you're an organization that can't afford all the power, you can develop young talent and build your offense around speed.
Hmm.
And back to the 1980s when the Cardinals were all speed and going to the World Series every year, felt like you know I Major League Baseball is needs to, I think, at some point step in a little bit with regards to the deferred money situation. And I think it's a dangerous slope, what the Dodgers are doing. They obviously have the money, but you know, the thing about baseball is you could have all the talent in the world on any given day. A starting pitcher can beat you.
Hmm.
So I think I think there's some teams out there that are gonna compete with the Dodgers. It's gonna be a grind. When you get in a 5 game series, anything can happen.
Hmm. I just want to end the show with some quick fire questions for you. Uh, First one, favorite player growing up.
Oh, Roberto Alomar.
Mm. Favorite current player?
Oh, great question. Current player. Oh gosh, I really like Seager.
Corey Seager.
Yeah, I really like Seager. It was hard to watch him leave the Dodgers.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You mentioned, recruiting and this has now become almost like a year-long process for you. Are you able to watch much MLB at this point?
Not as much as I used to. Yeah. I do. It is on when I get home. I'll throw it on the TV in the background. I won't sit and just so busy. I won't be able to sit and watch 3 hour ball games or anything like that. But I love watching the highlights. In the morning, it's on TV and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, but I do love going to Giants games and sitting in the bleachers or anywhere and just watching the games. Yeah.
Hmm. What was your favorite moment of your playing career?
Oh, wow. Great question. Uh, Favorite moment of my playing career. Uh, well, in college in 1995, we went to the College World Series. And
Wow.
so that dog pile, I still remember like it was yesterday on our field. We beat the number 2 team in the nation to go to the World Series. And it was the first time in school history UC Davis ever made the World Series.
Wow.
So that was an amazing moment, running in from shortstop, dog piling. Playing career, I played for Team USA. That was really exciting. But I'd say the number one moment was I played for Mayaguez Indios in the Puerto Rican National League, Winter League. excuse me. And my mom's Puerto Rican, so
Mm.
she was born and raised in Puerto Rico and went to games as a child. But having my grandma watch the game on TV and me playing in Puerto Rico was a pretty special moment.
Yeah, that must have been awesome.
Yeah,
You mentioned you were roommates with Justin Verlander.
yeah.
Would you consider him the best player? I mean, I don't even know if did you guys play together? Who was the best player you ever played with?
Yeah, Justin was probably the best pitcher. Him and Beckett were the
Mhm.
two best pitchers that I ever faced or saw. I'd throw Cliff Lee in there as well.
Mm,
He was solid. The best player, I think for me was the best player I played against was Chase Utley.
mm,
He was an amazing player. But the best player I played with, teammate wise, was a young man, Michael Young. We were in the Blue Jays together. And he eventually got traded to Texas and had a wonderful career. I think he got over 2,500 hits with the Rangers and took them to 2 World Series.
yeah.
As a Giant fan, I'm sure you remember Giants beat them
In 2010.
Yeah. But Michael Young was probably all around one of the best players I ever played with.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your favorite moment from your coaching career?
Um, Coaching career as a head coach, I would say in our third year, we on game 50 against Sonoma State on our field. It was a do or die win or loss. If you won, we went to the CCA tournament. If we lost, the season was over. And we won. We dogpiled, and that was a truly a great moment because those first 2 years were really tough. Trying to rebuild the program, but finally getting over that mountain of getting the tournament. And I'd put last year, being selected to go to the regionals. All the players were watching the selection show
Hmm.
online, and I had a tape delay on mine, and where my girlfriend and her daughter were watching the screen, and they're like the number 1 seed in the West region, Point Loma, the number 2 seed, and all of a sudden my phone started beeping,
Hmm.
and I looked at it, and it was like everybody going, "We did it, we did it!" I'm like, it hasn't even come on the screen yet.
Yes.
So I had a little bit of a tape delay apparently, and then eventually, the 6th seed, San Francisco State University, making their first regional appearance since 1995, and that was a pretty special moment last year.
Hmm. It's February now. I think pitchers and catchers report soon. Do you want to make an early World Series prediction now?
Ooh, good call. Gosh, I mean, you got to throw the Dodgers in there, right? I thought Cleveland last year was going to get it done, to be honest with you. But let me think about the National League or the American League. You know what? The Yankees lost Soto, didn't they?
Yeah.
Did they sign anybody
Ah,
big?
not that I can remember.
Yeah, they lost Soto,
I think they
but
brought Garrett Cole back.
they got Cole back. I feel like they got a free agent.
Yeah, I think they traded for Bellinger, Cody
They got
Bellinger.
Bellinger, right? I'm gonna go Orioles.
Orioles.
Yeah,
They're
think-
building
I
something.
think it's their time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then just last one, do you have any message to Gators fans who want to come out and see the team this season?
Yeah, please come out and watch the guys. It's a great group. I think this year's strength, I know it hasn't shown early, is going to be our pitching. We are going to pitch better. We're getting our feet under us right now, but it's always exciting when there's students in the stands, and we have great parent support. The sun will be out soon, and it's a fun Saturday and Sunday afternoon for you.
Mhm. Appreciate you joining the show,
Oh,
Coach. I
my
know you're a
pleasure.
busy guy.
Anytime. I'd love to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
All right. You're welcome.
I'm Eddie Monares reporting for Golden Gate Express. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for more episodes.